It's a whole new game this morning for raising money for political campaigns with major ramifications for the upcoming midterm elections. The Supreme Court ruling Wednesday allows wealthy donors to contribute to as many political candidates and campaigns as they want, and the chair of the RNC is celebrating.
The reason we're excited is that it brings the political parties, I think the most accountable groups in America, a little bit closer to exercising our First Amendment rights just like everybody else.
But the New York Times editorial board summarizes the opposing view. The McCutcheon decision is less about free speech than about giving those few people with the most money the loudest voice in politics. Joining me once again, independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. So as you well know, this ruling rejects the previous federal limit on individual contributions. That was $123,000. I know you were on Twitter yesterday to voice your strong opposition. Why are you so troubled by this?
Chris, we are in a situation right now where, as a result of Citizens United, multi-billionaire families like the Koch brothers and Sheldon Adelson are in the process of dominating our entire political system. As a result of Citizens United, the Koch brothers can spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to elect right-wing candidates who will serve their interests of giving more tax breaks to the very rich and cutting back on programs that working families need. You just saw the spectacle in Las Vegas last week. Sheldon Adelson brings all these potential Republican candidates to his office and says, "What are you going to do with me? For me. And if you're nice and you do what I want, maybe I'll give you a few $100 million for your campaign." Now, what this decision yesterday did is made a very bad situation even worse, and the millionaires and the billionaires can now contribute up to $5 million directly into the campaign funds of individual candidates all over this country.
Of course, it's on the Democratic side as well, so I
yes,
assume your opposition extends to everyone.
Absolutely. But let's be clear, it's not fair to say a plague on both your houses. The vast majority of the new money, which is why the Republican chairman was rejoicing, why the Republican Party has pushed for this Supreme Court decision, is they understand that most of the money, not all, but most of the money will be coming into Republican coffers. And what this is all about, what the so-called freedom of speech is about, is allowing the wealthiest people in this country to essentially own the political process in America and make it very, very hard for non-wealthy candidates who are representing working families to get a fair shot in the political process.
As you know, when you look at the ruling, the 5-member majority said the court has long found political spending to be free speech. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote this for the majority: "The government may no more restrict how many candidates or causes a donor may support than it may tell a newspaper how many candidates it may endorse." Fair analogy?
No, that's a totally absurd analogy. Guys, I really honestly don't know what world these guys are living in. For them, what freedom of speech is about is the freedom to buy the political process in this country and to control our democracy. And I think that that is just undermining what so many people for so many years have fought for in terms of strengthening the foundations of American democracy.
It seems almost like the Wall Street Journal, if I may, was writing to you and others who believe as you do when they said this morning, "These usual suspects will now be wailing anew about big money in politics, but the reality is that the biggest winners in McCutcheon may be the political parties. If parties have more money to donate, then super PACs financed by the super rich might have less influence." What would you say to that?
Well, I'd say what I would usually say to Wall Street Journal editorials, that they are dead wrong. And let me add this, Chris. What the Republican Party has long wanted in pushing the court to these decisions is essentially to eliminate all restrictions on campaign funding. And Judge Thomas, by the way, took that position yesterday. At the end of the day, what the Republicans want is no restrictions, that the billionaires of this country can spend as much as they want in any way they want. Now, the Wall Street Journal may think that's a good idea. I think the vast majority of the American people understand that that is not what American democracy is about. You're taking away the ability of ordinary people to get involved in the political process, and you're giving more and more power to the people who already have it.
We've talked a lot on this program about how 2 years ago we had $1 billion campaign for president if you wanted to run. A lot of folks are saying you better be able to look at $2 billion this time. Now, of course, the floodgates are open, and I really wonder, because you've talked about running for president, what does it mean to a candidacy like yours? What does it mean for the presidential race overall?
Well, let me tell you what I think, all right? The Koch brothers, who are now worth $80 billion, last year saw their wealth increase in 1 year by $12 billion. So when you talk about Obama and Mitt Romney both spending a little bit more than $1 billion for their campaigns, what do you think it would mean to the Koch brothers to say, hey, what, you know, we're going to throw a couple of $1 billion into the presidential election? It is nothing. It is a small fraction of what they earned last year. So this decision, plus Citizens United, is a terrible disservice to the American people. We need a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United, and in fact, we need public funding of elections so that all candidates have a fair shot at getting elected, and they get judged by their ideas, by what they're fighting for, and not by the bank accounts of their campaign sponsors.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thanks so much for your time, Senator.